What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today we are breaking down week 17 of fantasy hockey, and what that means is we're going to be looking at the best and worst schedules and also the streamers to help you maximize your games. Without further ado, let's dive right into it. Now, normally in the last couple of videos, I've been talking about must-add players, but I'm going to be doing a separate video sometime this week covering that. It's been a pretty busy week for me, so yeah. Stay tuned for that, but just for now, we're just going to go over the schedule and the streamers for this video. And just two quick things, guys. Make sure you follow my Twitter /X at FIREDUP Fantasy. I post a lot of content on there, up-to-date information. Give me a follow. And also, on Drafters Fantasy Sports, if you guys want to do pick'ems on the NHL, NFL, and more, you can use promo code FIREDUP. And when signing up, they will match your deposit 100%. Up to $100 with a minimum deposit of $20. So 20 gets you 40, 100 gets you 200. You guys can bet on the Super Bowl in the next 2 weeks. You guys can do NHL bets every time there's games. They have props. So yeah, make sure you head on over to Drafters Fantasy Sports and use promo code FIREDUP. All right, to start things off, let's talk about the schedule, okay? If you're on Yahoo, week 17 is 2 weeks. It spans from January 29th to February 11th. So you have the games from Monday to Wednesday this week, and then you have the break, right? Thursday to Sunday, All-Star break. Games do not resume until Monday, February the 5th. I'm not sure if Fantrax operates this way. Same with ESPN. I'm not sure if they do this, but this is what we're going to be talking about in this video. Regardless, if your league operates differently, the information in here will still be useful. It's going to cover both the first week and the second week. So yeah, let's get into it. In terms of the teams with the most games and off nights this week, we have 4 teams on this list. They all don't have the best opponent goals against average, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles. We have the Vancouver Canucks, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Washington Capitals, all having 4 games and 3 off nights. And then we have the Rangers, who have 3 games and 3 off nights. We also have a bunch of teams that have 3 games and 2 off nights this week, which isn't that bad. As you guys can see, I've ranked them by opponent goals against average. Above 3.00 goals against average, we have the St. Louis Blues, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Anaheim Ducks, the Dallas Stars, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. This is ranked in order from best to worst opponent goals against average in each category. And then between 2.80 goals against average and 2.99 goals against average, we have the Predators, the Isles, the Flames, the Sens, the Canadiens, the Sharks, the Wild, the Blackhawks, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Florida Panthers, the New Jersey Devils, the Edmonton Oilers, and the Boston Bruins. And then we have 3 teams that have a below 2.65 goals against average. These teams are the Winnipeg Jets and the Pittsburgh Penguins, and also the Philadelphia Flyers. Now, 3 games and 2 off nights is still solid, so if you want to roll the dice on some of those teams with lower opponent goals against average, you could, but keep this in mind. Now, this week, because of the All-Star break, there are a lot of teams that only play twice. Not very good for maximizing your games, and if you have a lot of players on these teams, it might cost you your week. We have the Arizona Coyotes, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Los Angeles Kings, the Minnesota Wild, the Buffalo Sabres, the Chicago Blackhawks, the San Jose Sharks, the Detroit Red Wings, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Anaheim Ducks, and the Seattle Kraken. Moving on, we have the teams with the easiest opponent record this week. A lot of these teams have 2 games, so, you know, even though they have an easy opponent record, they're not going to be good for maximizing your games and maximizing your fantasy points, but still, maybe something to keep in mind. We have the Minnesota Wild, the Seattle Kraken, the San Jose Sharks, the St. Louis Blues, and the Anaheim Ducks. Then on the opposite end, we have the teams with the hardest opponent records this week. The players on these teams could underperform, guys. We have the Washington Capitals, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Philadelphia Flyers, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Vancouver Canucks. Obviously, 3 of the teams on this list are the teams that have 4 games this week. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Then we have the teams with the highest opponent goals against average this week. We have the St. Louis Blues, the Seattle Kraken, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Anaheim Ducks, and the New York Rangers. These teams are playing teams that let in a lot of goals generally, so the players on these teams could overperform this week. Then on the flip side, we have the teams with the lowest opponent goals against average. These teams are playing teams that do not let in a lot of goals, so the players on these teams could underperform. We have the Philadelphia Flyers, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Winnipeg Jets, the Washington Capitals, and the Arizona Coyotes. Moving on, guys, let's talk about streaming strategies for this week. Like I told you guys earlier in the video, the All-Star break begins Thursday, February the 1st, and games resume Monday the 5th. So you have teams that play from Monday to Wednesday this week, and then it resets, right? When the All-Star break is over, Monday the 5th, then you have the teams that play games then. So what you could do in terms of maximizing your games is stream some of the players on the teams that play from Monday to Wednesday in the first week. Now, we do have some teams that have one game during this period from Monday to Wednesday. Could be good one-night streams, but ideally what you want to do is pick up players from these three teams for this stretch. So we have the Nashville Predators, the Ottawa Senators, and the San Jose Sharks. They all have good opponent goals against average. And like I said, in terms of strategy, you pick up the players during this stretch and then you drop them and pick up the players from teams like the Avalanche, the Canucks, and the Capitals that have 4 games the following week. With that being said, here are the streamers that you could add and stream during the stretch before the All-Star break. Like I told you guys, players from the Predators, the Senators, and the San Jose Sharks. For the Predators, we have Ryan O'Reilly, Gustav Nyquist, and Colton Sissons, all on the first line power play, all playing very well this year. And then we have Jeremy Lauzon, who is only really going to be applicable in leagues that heavily value shots, hits, and blocks. Then for the Senators, we have Claude Giroux, Drake Batherson, Josh Norris, Shane Pinto. Shane Pinto is currently on the first line power play. He is putting up good peripherals as well. Definitely a solid, sneaky option. We have Thomas Chabot, Jacob Chychrun, Jake Sanderson. I think Jake Sanderson should actually be higher on this list. So, I'm going to move Sanderson in front of Chabot and Chychrun after I record this because Jake Sanderson is currently on the first line power play. I don't know what they're doing with their power play. I guess they're just trying to mix things up and see what works, but definitely an interesting development to keep an eye on. And then we have Vladimir Tarasenko. Then lastly, for the San Jose Sharks, we have Tomas Hertl playing really good this year, always solid in leagues that value shots, hits, and blocks. We have Logan Couture just returned from his injury. I think he is going to pick things up soon. Hopefully this is the week that he starts producing. We have Fabian Zetterlund, super underrated, takes a lot of shots. Willie Meckland, good deployment. He's been average this year. Mike Hoffman. And then lastly, Alexander Barabanov. Lastly, I want to give you guys the streamers to add for the second week. If you are on Yahoo, like I said, week 17 is 2 weeks. So after the All-Star break, these teams play the most games. We have the Vancouver Canucks, the Colorado Avalanche, the Washington Capitals, the New York Rangers, like I said earlier on. And these are the streamers for the Canucks. We have Suter, who is on the first line power play, playing extremely well. I guess, this could be a week where he cools down, but with his deployment, you absolutely have to take a look at him for this week and also potentially long term. Then we have Filip Hronek, Dakota Joshua, Connor Garland, Bluger, not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Ilya Mikheyev, and Andrei Kuzmenko. I didn't mention this earlier, but all these streamers are under 90% rostered. And also, you guys can see they are color-coded in yellow if they were on the first-line power play. Then for the Colorado Avalanche, we have Jonathan Drouin, first-line power play, incredible deployment, playing awesome in the last month and a half or so. We have Ross Colton, currently on the first-line power play, puts up good peripherals. I will say, obviously, Arturi Lehkonen is back, and it's not a question of if, but when Lehkonen returns on the first-line power play. So, Colton could get bumped to the second unit potentially this week. Keep that in mind. Next, Arturi Lehkonen, just like I said, could be higher on this list if he's back on the first-line power play. Right now, he's on the third line in the second unit. Not the greatest, but we all know that this will change very soon. Next, we got Logan O'Connor. This guy's been an absolute beast as of late. He's in the top 6. He's getting good minutes. Definitely a solid option. We have Devin Taves, always a solid option. Miles Wood, also playing very well in the top 6 currently. Like I told you guys earlier, Lehkonen could bump down O'Connor or Miles Wood, even strength in the top 6. So keep that in mind. But regardless, still playing very well. Then we have Manson, Samuel Girard, Bowen Byram, and Ryan Johansson. Next, we got the Washington Capitals. I can't believe I'm including Ovechkin on this list, but his roster percentage has dropped to 91%, so I included him. Ovechkin, man, his shooting percentage is so low. I'm expecting him to score more goals soon. He scored in the last game. I understand he's not the same player, but guys, come on. The math tells us that he should bounce back. This could be a really good week for Ovechkin. Who knows? Next, we got John Carlson. Great peripherals, first-line power play. He's playing pretty good lately. Always a solid option, and I think he's a long-term hold as well. We got Tom Wilson, puts up great peripherals, getting top 6 minutes. Then we have some guys on the first-line power play. Dylan Strome, TJ Oshie, Max Pacioretty. All have been playing pretty well. Oshie's been pretty streaky. With Pacioretty, he got injured, but I just read a tweet. I retweeted it if you follow my Twitter, that it was a precautionary reason why they took him out of the game, not related to his Achilles. He will be back in the next game. That's what they're saying. So yeah, still a good streaming option. Then we got Anthony Mantha. He's getting better minutes as of late. He's scoring goals. We got Kuznetsov. He potted in 2 apples the other night. He's getting top 6 minutes again. We'll see how that plays out. And then we have Rasmus Sandin. Lastly, we have streamers from the New York Rangers. Never a lot of options on the Rangers because they're so top heavy, but we have Vincent Trocheck. That was available in most of your leagues, but he's still under 90% rostered, so I had to include him. Alexis Lafreniere, playing really good, actually. If you're looking at his even strength numbers, he's playing great. He's taking a lot of shots. I'm liking what I'm seeing from him. So yeah, take a look at Alexis Lafreniere this week with 3 games and 3 off nights. Then we got some other, deeper league options. Eric Gustafsson, Capo Caco, Keandre Miller, and Blake Wheeler. Wheeler's back on the first line. We'll see how they mix things up. Still doesn't get the best minutes, but hey, he could put up some points. All right, guys, that's the end of the video. Make sure you hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.